what's up guys? I'm gonna be ranking all the Clash Royale evolutions from worst to first. I use my game knowledge as someone that's top 1000 in the world and a 20-win player, and I consulted the best players in the world in the top 200 to get an actually accurate representation of the best cards in the game. Drill Evo is the worst evolution in the game and it should never be played. It jumps around the tower and literally does nothing. Plus, it's countered by one of the cards that play the most, Royal Ghost. It is getting a buff in the work in progress balance changes, where it will spawn an extra goblin on its first submerge, so stay tuned for that. It should jump up a ton of spots. After Bomber's health nerf, it became unreliable. It dies way too easily now for its lackluster damage, making it the second worst evolution in the game. While Dark Goblin is a strong card, the evolution is not worth playing. It usually gets countered by arrows, barbarrels, vines, and sniped by Royal Ghost too. And after the Dark Goblin evolution's poison nerf, it made it way less reliable against bait decks. There are a ton of bait decks in the game right now, so if you're running Dark Goblin evolution, you're likely going to get it sniped by all of the stuff I said earlier, and when you do get to play it, it's not going to be as effective. So regular Dark Goblin is super strong, so save your evolution slots and just use the regular one. For bats at 35, why are you evolving a card that's straight up worse than minions? Save your evolution slot, play minions instead. It's not that evolved bats are awful right now, minions are just significantly better. Wizard evolution in the last meta used to be a lot better. It allowed you to one-shot fire spirits from furnaces, which were everywhere in the meta. But since Furnace Evolution isn't the best card in the game anymore, Wizard Evolution doesn't have as much of a place. Also, when the Evolved Royal Ghost attacks the Evolved Wizard, it breaks the shield and then spawns the Ghost Guards afterward. So the explosion doesn't kill the Ghost Guards, and the Ghost Guards finish off the Wizard. Despite the Evolved Wizard costing more elixir and having that protective shield, it doesn't protect itself against the Evolved Royal Ghost at all. Musketeer Evolution is only played in balloon cycle decks to snipe buildings and high-value anti-air responses that would pop the balloon. And Balloon isn't even that good in the meta because Evolved Baby Dragon is slowing balloons down so it can never reach the tower, and the decks that don't run that typically have Tornado plus a building. So good luck using the Evolved Musketeer in any deck that uses it because you're likely just gonna get hard countered. Evolved Ice Spirit used to be able to kill minions and archers, and now it struggles to kill Spear Goblins. Yeah, it'll kill Spear Goblins, but after the damage nerf that it had, you just don't get the value that you need it to on defense because it barely does any damage. It's only played when you have no other viable evolutions in your deck. Goblin Giant got 3 nerfs in a row, and now it's the worst win condition in the game. I guess Clash Royale got sick of seeing this deck at the top with no skill spam with Goblin Giant, Goblin Curse, Rage, and now this deck is at the bottom of the barrel. No one plays it anymore. This is the worst win condition that you could play in the 20-win challenge. It feels kind of weird to say that because Goblin Giant Evolution was one of the best win conditions for a while. Hunter Evolution does not net enough value to be played right now because it's only really played in Royal Giant decks, where Royal Giant Evolution and Royal Ghost Evolution are simply superior. We'd see it played more if the decks that it's played in weren't using the best evolutions of the game already. Archers used to be more reliable for offensive decks, but now they're only played in defensive decks after the damage nerf. So you can see them played in Expo, and Expo is pretty strong, but other than that, they're not played in any other strategy. Battle Ram is bad into Bowler, Fisherman, Electro Spirit, which is everywhere. It's not a terrible card when you get a good matchup and can plow through bait cards and knock things aside while you pave a pathway for the Evolved Battle Ram to connect. But the typical Clash Royale experience is battle ramming it into a Bowler or Evolved Executioner, getting knocked back, or stunned by an Electro Spirit, or pulled by a Fisherman. The meta is not very friendly for Evolved Battle Ram right now. Even in the decks it's played in, the Evolved P.E.K.K.A. and the Evolved Royal Ghost are just more consistent options for value. It still sees playtime because the Ram Rider got a charge nerf, and the Evolved Battle Ram is a better option than Ram Rider right now. Evolved Barbarians are good with Lava Hound, Survive Fireball, and basically win any 1v1 if they're placed on top of a troop. Despite Evolved Barbarian strength, it doesn't do great in a meta where Bowler, Executioner, and Royal Ghost are practically everywhere, shredding them. 25 with P.E.K.K.A. is where evolutions start to get a bit better. With high damage and the heal for extra survivability, the P.E.K.K.A. is a nice option to choose. The value potential for P.E.K.K.A. is higher when you get it close to the tower and your opponents are scrambling to drop things to defend it. It crushes the unit, gets some extra heal, and can sometimes just steal the game. The downside of P.E.K.K.A. in this meta is the Chef Tower got nerfed, Goblin Giant is worse, Fisherman is there to just pull the P.E.K.K.A. everywhere, and support cards like Goblin Machine and Ram Rider caught stray nerfs, and you would typically want the P.E.K.K.A. to be supported with other troops. Evolved P.E.K.K.A. still has a place in the meta with Evolved Royal Ghost and Bridge Spam, but it's not the best archetype. Evolved Skeletons are still a staple in a lot of cycle decks. Being able to multiply like crazy to crush entire pushes, and sometimes even 3-crown, is ridiculous value. Even though the 3-crowns don't happen as often because now there's not 4 skeletons, so the splitting of the 1 is a lot easier to kill than the split of 2 and 2 on both sides as it used to be, there's still a huge threat that opponents have to worry about or the game's just over for them. The nerfs to the Evolved Skeleton's ability to multiply have dragged them down considerably. They used to be played in practically every deck, and now they're played in 20 of the top 200 decks. Still one of the best evolutions to upgrade if you like cycle decks. Evolved Inferno Dragon has to be one of the cheesiest evolutions in the game. If the opponent doesn't have a reset, even if your entire deck is countered, if you get that thing near the tower, you can scoop up a game that you have no business stealing. Downside is there are a bunch of distractions and resets in the meta with Zappies and Evolved Electro Dragon played in the most popular decks. And because Goblin Hut is one of the more popular buildings, Spear Goblins are going to be distracting Inferno Dragons all day. Evolved Inferno Dragon feels like one of the most matchup-based cards in Clash. If opponents don't have resets, you are going to win every single bridge battle and probably just take the tower if you have a tank in front of it. But if you're matching into an Evolved Electro Dragon or a bait deck, it feels like flying garbage. After the Evolved Goblin Cage got a nerf in the recent balance changes, removing its bonus health, it's not as much of a menace on offense. It dies easier, especially with Rare Recruits decks and Balloon Cycle decks. You'll notice that not dealing as much damage. But that doesn't change the fact that it can eat an entire P.E.K.K.A. or Mega Knight alive for 4 Elixir, and give you a Brawler to counter push to beat your opponent down and give you more value. If you have good air defenses with this as built-in ground defense, you're able to stop most things in the game. Evolved Zap is incredibly clutch in the meta because it is one of the best counters to Evolved Skeleton Army. It breaks the general shield and zaps him in the face to erase the entire skeleton army. And that's for a +1 elixir trade into one of the best evolutions in the game. Also, Evolved Zap allows you to kill cards like Musketeer when you combine it with arrows. Or if you pair it with Fireball, you can eliminate things like Archer Queens or Electro Dragons. Definitely one of the more underrated evolutions in the game if you know these interactions. Frankly, Firecracker evolution is one of the riskier evolutions in the game. If your opponent has vines or arrows or both, you're kind of screwed and not going to get as much value. But if your opponent doesn't have vines or arrows, the insane matchup advantage will probably be enough for you to carry the game unless you just play poorly. The splash damage that you get with Evolved Firecracker staying alive, especially when it hits the tower, feels like a cheat code. Evolved Knight is a universally good tank with no significant downsides. It's perfectly playable in a ton of different decks, most commonly played in Graveyard, but it can be used in Expo, to Electro Giant, to basically anything that you want to play. While not being incredibly overpowered, it's well-rounded and it won't give you any bad matchups. The Evolved Goblin Barrel gives you infinite outplay potential and ways to win the worst matchups in the game. If you have a fake Goblin Barrel going in one side and you're tanking for that while the real Goblin Barrel goes in the other lane, if you stretch your opponent's elixir thin, even if they have multiple spells, sometimes they're not able to keep up with you. When the fake Goblin Barrel is tanked for, the opponent has to dish out a spell or a lot of elixir to clean it up, and the real Goblin Barrel will do a ton of damage alone. If the opponent has one spell or Cannoneer, it feels like the game is already over before it's even played. Evolved Goblin Barrel will require too many resources, especially when opponents are at low elixir, for them to be able to defend. Royal Giant is played in 22 of the top 200 decks, and it was one of the best decks in the 20-win challenge, even played by the rank 1, 4, and 3 player in the world at the same time. Evolved Royal Giant's knockback eliminates Royal Ghost bodyguards that are attacking it. And there aren't great answers in the meta to counter it because people are using Inferno Dragon a lot less, and no one's playing Inferno Tower. And a Royal Giant evolution pairs perfectly with the Evolved Royal Ghost. The Evolved Royal Giant can knock back units like Valkyrie and Mini P.E.K.K.A. that are supposed to counter your Evolved Royal Ghost, keeping your Evolved Royal Ghost alive, giving you an easy way to win the game. Even though Furnace Evolution got a nerf, it still spawns so many Fire Spirits. You can Furnace Evolution a push on defense that your opponent's throwing at you, and the Fire Spirits will eat it all up. Even though Mega Knight has a reputation for being mid-ladder, it's pretty good into the Evolved Wall Breakers and Evolved Royal Ghosts that are floating around everywhere. It's only going to get better when Evolved Piggies are everywhere in the game. The splash damage is reliable, and it's a sturdy defensive option that seamlessly counter pushes, forcing opponents to immediately respond. If someone overcommits against Mega Knight, it's going to be on their doorstep, crushing their tower. Royal Recruits, my bread and butter, one of the easiest cards to play in the game that gives you simultaneous counter push on both sides. If opponents are playing bait decks or bridge spam and are trying to do dual lane pressure, the Recruits will clean it up and then have a built-in counter push that opponents have to worry about. Despite their charges getting a nerf recently, they're still a reliable option for worse players to win. If you have to win every game like in a 20-win challenge, they're not the best option, but if you're trying to win enough to push up on ladder and go more than 50% win rate, they're really easy to play and they'll push you up. The Evolved Mortar has damage output that you can't ignore. With the Goblins, it'll deal over 700 damage per shot. The synergy with Evolved Skeleton Barrel, Minions, Dark Goblin, and other bait guards makes Mortar pretty broken. There's nothing better than pulling a Balloon or a Hog Rider while making the opponent have to defend the Mortar shots that are about to hit their tower. For the Witch Evolution, if the opponent doesn't have Mega Knight, Valkyrie, Lightning, or Barbarrel, they often just lose. If you don't have the right counters, this card overheals and gives a massive matchup advantage. In the right spot, Evolved Witch is unkillable and can single-handedly carry the game. Giant Snowball gives ginormous value on defense and offense. If the opponents are supposed to defend against a drill and they're dropping units on top, a lot of times the goblins will lock onto the tower because the snowball pulls the opponent's countering units off and throws them behind the tower. If you're breaking the bridge with spam and double or triple elixir and there's a ton of units on the battlefield, removing the opponent's units for a period of time can guarantee game-ending damage. And on defense, if you need to pull things back to give yourself a little bit more time or breathing room so you don't die, Evolved Snowball feels like it manipulates the map in a way that shouldn't be possible in Clash Royale. Even though Evolved Valkyrie lost her extra health points in a nerf, she still has a built-in tornado with each swing. And when opponents get bailed out by this thing, it is one of the most rage-inducing moments in the game. For 4 elixir, melting upwards of 12 should not be a thing. It literally pulls win conditions back, so golems will not get consistent death damage value on the tower. No win condition can even reach what it wants to because the 4 elixir little blockage. Even if opponents don't drop a building, win conditions sometimes won't even reach the tower against this thing. Evolved Electro Dragon might be the most complained about card amongst pro players right now. If you play a beatdown deck and don't have lightning, you lose. The infinite chain of pain will bing bing between units until everything's eliminated. If you don't have a big spell and this thing is paired with a battle healer behind a golem or elixir golem, you're probably dead. The worst players at the bottom of Ultimate Champion and the right matchup with Evolved Electro Dragon can beat the best players in the world. Especially if you have a battle healer for extra survivability and tornado to clump up your opponent's cards so they can't lock onto the Electro Dragon. The Evolved Skeleton Army split lane shenanigans that you can unleash make this card one of the best ones in the game. If you block the general from moving forward behind a slow moving troop like a giant skeleton or a fisherman or a skeleton king, your other skeletons will go in front and won't die until the opponent spells down the general. If you're running a spell bait deck like Mother Witch and Skeleton King and a whole bunch of other cards that opponents have to respond to, you might not have the spell to kill the general. And then unkillable skeletons will be swarming their tower, and it's one of the most hopeless experiences ever. And there's a placement when a tower is down that you can drop the general still on your side while all the other skeletons are attacking your opponent's tower on their side. Even if they kill the skeletons, they have to wait for the general to move to their side of the arena before they can easily kill it. And when you drop more things in the middle of the tank for your general, a lot of times that cheesy play can just straight up win matches. The Evolved Cannon feels like a rail delivery across the arena. If you're playing Log Bait, Drill, Hog Rider, or Miner, you're likely going to be using Evolved Cannon. At the highest level of gameplay, it feels unbreakable. It keeps super defensive decks safe while you chip down opponents' towers. Now, since we're entering into the top 5 evolutions, all of these cards are broken. Executioner Evolution is good on offense and defense, and the evolution eliminates the weakness of the card. You can't drop units on top of the Evolved Executioner to eliminate it, because in addition to dealing more damage, it also has a knockback. It's basically a bowler that hits air and deals more damage. And when you pair it with Tornado on offense, you can line it up with your opponent's tower and have it as a win condition. It basically fits in every deck: Graveyard, Hog Rider, Balloon. Drill 2 and Bridge Spam even playable without Tornado. Evolved Wall Breakers have snuck their way to the 4th best evolution in the game. They can fully counter Barbarians. And for 2 elixir, you can use them on defense to kite units back, explode them on big pushes, or use them in offense with that hyper bait deck with Evolved Skeleton Barrel and use vines at the right time so when opponents use their spells on the Wall Breakers thinking that they will kill it, it stays alive and then the game's over. For 2 elixir, they're one of the most spammable cards in the game and there's almost always a use case. The Evolved Baby Dragon gives a 50% speed increase to create speedy Electro Giants, and units that shouldn't be going Sonic mode do. 50% is crazy. That's faster than Rage. When Electro Giants and Balloons are sped up so the opponents don't have buildings or the appropriate counters in cycle, it's game over. It also has a 30% slowdown on defense, so Balloons, Mini P.E.K.K.A.s, beatdown pushes that opponents are throwing at you will get stopped in their tracks. This is one of the most versatile and reliable evolutions in the game, and even after the nerf to 2 cycles, it's still dumb broken. Skeleton Barrel has a 57% win rate in the top 200 right now. Each wave of it exploding one-shots minions. The damage is just way too high, especially when you account for the amount of skeletons that pop out of it. My personal hell is using Mother Witch into a Skeleton Barrel while my Mother Witch gets vined and I have to make a prediction that they're somehow going to vines me. The unpredictability with Skeleton Barrel and the fact that opponents do not want to allow it to connect to the tower means that they have to use buildings more often than not that are huge negative elixir traits. You don't want to be dropping a bomb tower or a goblin hut every single trade against the Skeleton Barrel to net a negative elixir trade. Well, their cycling Skeleton Barrels getting closer to their evolution, while you're dropping a defensive building that does nothing for your evolution cycle. And the most broken evolution in the game is the pay-to-win Evolved Royal Ghost. Each time it attacks and becomes visible, it spawns 2 ghost guards that also go invisible just like the ghost. And there's no cap on the amount of Royal Ghost guards that you can spawn, so each time it attacks and reappears, the amount is infinite. For 3 elixir, having 5 Royal Ghosts on a tower means that opponents have to dedicate a ton of elixir or they lose the game. And if you can snipe opponents' units that are supposed to kill the Royal Ghost, causing it to go invisible yet again while you have like a Barbarian Barrel or something small tanking for it, the Evolved Royal Ghost guards will snatch the tower before anyone knows what happened. This has achieved stupidly silly levels of broken, and it deserves an immediate nerf. The Evolved Royal Ghost is played in 85 of the top 200 decks, and it's an evolution that you had to pay for that was not included in Clash Royale. Whenever you're given an option to choose an evolution, pick Royal Ghost. Like if you enjoyed, subscribe for more daily content, and have an amazing rest of your day.